Yes, my people, how you doing? You're now listening to the Mo Gilligan podcast. My guest today, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to have today's guest on the show. We have Munya. How you doing, Munya? How are you? How are you?
I'm good, man. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's been very busy, and I always like to have a bit of space in my head just to kind of come up with ideas.
Yeah.
But I feel like at the moment, just like everything's popping off. It feels like fireworks going off and stuff. So I'm grateful to be busy, but I didn't expect the year to go like this. Do you know what I mean? It's happening very quickly, but for you, man.
I think the beautiful thing, Munya, is what you're doing is, and I said this to you recently the other day when you done the webinar, so thanks for doing that. I really appreciate that for the documentary. You are something that, just for myself, that you're doing something that I've never seen before in terms of the way you're turning around your content. You've now set the benchmark. And that is like, sometimes I sit there, I'm like, wow, man, I wish I could do content that quick. Because it's not just putting out content quick, it's quality. You're putting out good quality content. And what you're doing as well, you've got this level of satire where it's like, there's some things you've done videos on, I haven't even known that's happened yet. And because your content is so quick and your satire is so good and the quality is so like unique, I'm sitting there like, this is where I'm getting my information and my comedy, and I'm getting this quality. And I think the beautiful thing is, especially when I see it on Twitter, I feel like I keep saying the beautiful thing is beautiful, but it's I'm really happy for your success because it's so nice to see how everyone champions you. It's so refreshing to see because there's been times where sometimes people can put people against each other. You know, who's funny at this person or that person, but you're in your own lane. You're like a horse with a blinkers on and you're going this way. And whatever way you go, your audience are following you. Yeah. So if you say tomorrow, do you know what? I want to try this character. You're at the best stage where your audience say, oh, do you know what? I like this, man. I like that. But then I think from myself, as someone on the outside of looking at, is like, when you get in the room, and you most probably are, I don't know, but when you get in the room of, you know, doing TV, sketch shows, whatever you want to do, there's a level of creativity that you're bringing to a table that everyone listens to your last word. That might not have happened for you yet, but it will happen. Yeah. Where you'll sit in the room and they'll have 20 people and like, yeah, so what? Like, like, and you can say, yeah, we want to do it like this, do that, and that makes sense for that, and that makes sense for this, and this makes sense for that. And it's going to be something where I know you already know that because the way you create your content is so, the quality, like, I look at your content and I'm like, that is so sick because you're doing a satire on a level which is high, bruv.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate it.
It's so high. And I think I know for myself, when I was kind of doing videos, you're in the moment. You're just like, I'm just in the moment. I just want to do videos. Like, I just want to do videos. Yeah. But from watching it from an outside perspective, I'm like, this is so sick.
Nah, man, I honestly, that just makes me so, pleased to hear. And, I'm really, really grateful for it. I remember the first time I met you actually was on a radio show.
Represent.
I
remember that.
And I got to big up my friend Scott because you met Scott. Now, Scott, just as a bit of context, he is the nicest guy you ever meet, but he has the external of a Caucasian hamster. That is the way I would describe him. And for somehow he got your number. Yeah. And I remember him telling me, and I remember being like, "Can we get Mo on the show?"
He's from Brit School. Scott.
Yeah, he's from Brit School.
Yes, I remember Scott. I remember done his show at Brit Radio.
Exactly.
Yes, I remember.
So I was like, "Oh, mate, you met Mo. Can we get him on the show?" And he was like, "Yeah, So I was like, "Okay, give me his number so he can speak." He's like, "No, it's okay. I'll deal with that." Like, he wanted to guard that number. Like,
because I said to Scott, I said, "Yeah, if you got anything coming up, let me know. We'll do it." Yeah.
Honestly, man, that phone number was his pride and joy. He would go to parties and go, "Hey, you know whose number that is? That's Mo's." So big up to Scott.
Big up Scott,
but
man.
I remember first meeting you and just thinking, you look at somebody and you think, will I ever be able to kind of replicate what this person's doing, where you see so many people engaging and enjoying their content? I had no idea that I was going to even step into the world of comedy. Do you know what I mean? All I knew is I was trying everything. Anything you can imagine, I was trying. I had my radio show. I tried to do a fashion vlog, even though I dressed like a K-pop fan. I tried, what else did I try? I tried everything. I tried literally doing normal vlogs. I tried writing. I tried to have a satire show on Twitter ages ago. It was called 6 in 60, where I'd like round up 6 stories in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was getting maybe, I don't know, 10, 60 views. And I was like, okay, it's not working, but I know something will work. And, I was working in TV, and I wanted to be the presenter of this show that I was doing. And they said, look, you ain't got a profile. You're a nobody. So why don't you be a producer? Because we can see you can write. And the only reason I learned to write is because I was doing all these other things. And it was like watching my jokes being told by other people, and they were working. So I was like, okay, but why can't I do them?
Yeah.
And so that's why I took to Instagram.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I tried to go down the relatable route, like, oh, when you lose your friends in a club, or, when your girl does this or whatever. And I was like, who am I kidding? Like, I don't know anything about girls. So like, let me stop pretending and let me just talk about something that I am interested in. Yeah. I'm interested in the world. I'm interested in politics to a degree, social commentary. And I was like, I know this is proper nerdy, but some people might like it. Yeah. And obviously the right people find your content and start to engage with it. And so I thought, well, I wonder if it's weird if I do one like a news report and talk about how the news treats black people through their use of language and stuff. I don't know, I'll try it out, and then you get a group of people who relate to that. And so what it taught me is that, I could find an audience who had my sense of humor. And it's taught me that you should make content for the audience you want, not just an audience. You can make something that appeals to many, many people, but if that's not the audience you want, the next time you do something you want, people will be like, oh, this is trash. So I have never set out to be funny to everybody. I've just set out to be funny to people who have the same sense of humor as me, and also have an interest in the world. And I don't know, my goal was 10k followers, just so that I could get my foot in that presenting door. And I remember getting to 10k, and then it kept going. And they're like, okay, we're going to give you a shot on the show now. And then the channel shut down. So
okay.
I never got to live that dream. But, now this is it. And it was definitely a case of fake it till you make it, because, I've not done stand up. I couldn't hold my own on a stage with you for sure. But, people call me a comedian, so I just had to start thinking like one.
But you are, though. That's the thing. You're a comic. I think now that the comic isn't the person that is, and this, as I said, this is a debate. So, there's some people say, no, but a comic is the purist that goes on stage and writes his own material and blah blah blah. And then, bro, like, I remember being in this scene, especially stand-up comedy scene, and finding out some of these big comics have writers. I said, what? They don't write it?
Yeah.
What do you mean, bro? It's like finding out Santa Claus isn't real. Blood.
I know. What, isn't he?
He's not real. But for me, especially, like, because I'd watched it from the outside, and until you find out, because for me, for example, like, comedy is like the thing that I always found that I'm quite good at this. Like, I'm quite good at this. I'm going to kind of stick with this. But watching from the outside, I'm sitting there like, these comics that tour, are they performing new stuff every single night on tour? Because surely you must get bored of telling the same material. And until you see a comic twice, you're like, hold on, what?
Yeah.
He's done that joke twice. He's done it last week when I seen him. And I think that's the difference. It is like when you do kind of get into this space of a creative space, it becomes a creative space and a business space as well. And it's always hard because any creative is always a creative first and a business person second. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I went to university and studied performing arts and theatre production, and they're like, yeah, you need to learn how to do like taxes and invoices. I said, what? Nah, bro. Yeah. Man come to do Shakespeare, bro. So I think that's the difference of like when you do get in the business space. Even now, I still learn things as I go along. Yeah. So I want to ask you, now you're in a place of, you're creating these videos and your content's going online. Like, is this what you always wanted? Because you said that you You know, I wanted to be a presenter and stuff. So now you're in this space. Do you feel like you've got what you want, or is there more that you want to accomplish?
Oh, that's a good question. So I've always loved to entertain, you know, beyond any kind of egotistic reasons. And so I grew up in Zimbabwe, and my mum's parents still lived here. And you can imagine for them it was heartbreaking because you always want to have grandkids and to be around them, but we then moved across the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And Mugabe wasn't the biggest fan of white people. So what it meant is that they couldn't really visit us as much as they wanted. And so what we resorted to is we would film everything. My parents would have like a little camcorder, and they'd film us like making go-karts or you're climbing trees or whatever we were doing that day. And we'd send the videos over. Now, the concept of being able to watch myself back when I was a kid, I thought it was amazing. So we'd do this on camera, and I'd be like, Mum, please can we watch the video? We'd gather around the TV, put the cassette in, and I just found it hilarious. And I would always consciously think of funny things I could say in the video so I could laugh at them that night when I was watching them. So inbuilt in me was this real fascination with, you know, I can do something that gets a reaction in the room. Like I can make my mum and my dad laugh by what I say in this recording. So when I went into school now, I think my dad sort of latched onto that and said, okay, my son's going to be a politician. So he's clearly from Scotland. And
you know, I was like, I don't know how the man sounds in Zimbabwe, but
there's no reference.
If you're from there, I believe it.
No, do you know what? To be fair, my dad's a bit of an enigma. Like, my dad changes his name every 3 months because he gets bored. So he's a side note. But I think my dad wanted to move very far in the world of law. And I don't think that worked out for him because the UK was a very different place at the time and the odds were stacked against him. So subconsciously, I think he wanted me to live out that dream for him by going into law, going into politics, by becoming a public speaker. So he would always encourage me to do public speaking at school, debating in sixth form and stuff like this. But I always wanted to make it funny because I remember sort of talking in class and seeing people's faces stern until I dropped a joke. So me wanting to make it funny sort of ruled out law because you can't be busting jokes in like a court case over murder or whatever. So basically, obviously I thought I was going to do that via presenting. But if I'm now doing it through these sketches that kind of make satire, you know, satirical sketches that make a depressing world a little bit more digestible, I feel like I'm already like living my dream. Do you know what I mean? This feels, everything that I had on my vision board 2 years ago is my life now. And I'm so happy about that, but it makes me just think I want to just scrub over the vision board and make a new one. So that's what I've now had to start doing. Keep changing up the visions. You know, Netflix was on my vision board. I thought, I don't know how, but I want it to happen. And now an element of that has happened where I'm doing like an online show for them. So of course the next thing is, you know, I want to follow in your footsteps and to do like a special or a show on there. But ultimately, I could retire tomorrow, I could finish tomorrow, and I'd still be the happiest. I'm still as happy as I ever could be. Do you know what I mean?
That sounds really nice because I remember meeting a friend of mine who, you know, he was training to be a pilot for years. And I remember like when we were quite young and I was like, oh, so you've been trained to be a pilot? He's like, yeah, bro, I want to be a pilot. I just love planes. And he got to the position where he was a pilot. And he had an accident where he lost his vision in one of his eyes with a ball hit him in the eye. And I remember hearing that and I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry for you. And he's like, dude, don't. I've lived my dream. I wanted to be a pilot. I became a pilot and I've done that. I'll be a happy man for the rest of my life. You know, I might not be doing it right now, but I trained long enough to say, boom, I got to be a pilot. And I think it's really good that you can see I think it's like, it's really good you're seeing your vision and what you want to happen in the future. Because I think so many times it's very easy to, you know, I always say you must always look to the future, but it's always really good having that plan of settle. Do you know, I want to do that, I might do that. Or even if you're saying I've got a vision board, but I want to start again. Because for so many times, I remember when I first started getting into comedy, you know, there was a lot of people doing presenting stuff. You know, whether it be on SBTV and stuff. And I thought, that's what I want to do. Because if I present and do like my little, like kind of funny kind of presenting style, then that will get me like, I'll get exposure. Wicked, man. And I remember doing it and I interviewed, I interviewed Janelle Monáe, right? So there's a good friend of mine. He was managing me at the time, and he said, "Yeah, going to be interviewing Janelle Monáe,
Yeah.
right?" And and yeah, like, so I didn't know who she was. So he's like, "This is a big biog on her. You need to read this like tonight. We're going to be interviewing on Wednesday. We go to Marble Arch, this hotel, to interview her." So I'm like, "Oh, this is it. This is the one.
This is a big shot.
I can be a bit funny, but I can interview like someone who's going to be a big star. Loads of people watch it. This will be perfect." So I've got there. I've wrote my notes. Got into the room. Now this is a press junket. I didn't even know what this was. Yeah. So
the ones where they get you in and out.
ASAP. So we're only like, I think we're the third one of the morning. So you've always got this team, especially, I think it's always quite funny with Americans. Like whenever Americans always have entourage.
Oh, huge.
Like it doesn't matter what stage they are of their career. There's always a lot of people around them, which is so weird because like I just like my close people around me.
That's it.
I don't like loads of people. It's just like, I'd just rather just chill out with my friends backstage. Like that just feels a lot more natural than being like having your manager there. You've got PA there. You've got, there's a lot. I've sometimes like, especially with certain shows, I've knocked on the door. "Hey, you're right. Like, thanks for doing the show." And you're like, "Whoa, there's so much people in this room."
I know. And you think you can't all be essential to the journey. Like,
yeah.
It's mad, isn't it?
Do you know what I learned as well? My manager always said to me, she's like, "Always remember, all them people are getting paid." So it looks great of like, whoa, man, it's got 20 person team. 20 person team getting paid.
It's mad.
Do you think they're there for a day out?
Honestly. So were you intimidated by the entourage?
So we got there and it's this lovely hotel. So there's this entourage there. So this lady comes over. "Hey there, how you doing? Okay, just gonna go in like 2 minutes. Janelle's just gonna have some water and then you'll be straight in." Cool. Didn't ask my name, nothing. So I'm just going in dry basically in it. So I'm like, cool. Gone in there, sat down. "Hey, you right? You okay?" She's like, yeah, cool. She's lovely, like nice person. Started interview. So yeah, lovely to meet you, Janelle Monáe. And she was like, what? My name's Janelle Monáe, not Moe. And I was like, that's what I said.
Oh
Moe.
God, that's the worst part because you didn't even get it wrong. Oh man.
What did I say? Yeah. This is at the start. I've still got my quick fire questions to come up. So, iPhone or BlackBerry? X Factor or Britain's Got Talent? I don't know what Britain.
Oh God, I know the feeling, bro.
And I think for me, it's really good when you can kind of have things that don't go the direction that you thought it would. It would, because then it leads you in another direction. So hearing your story of saying, I was writing on the show, I wanted to be presented, and then it finished, leads you in the direction that you're in now.
Yeah. But what I will say is, I have a story that probably will make you feel 10 times better about that. And is also, basically the top line of the story is, Zac Efron put me off ever being a stand-up.
Why?
So,
Zac,
okay, so
he's from, what's Zac from again?
High School Musical.
Yes.
And Baywatch.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you remember this job I told you about, right? This is where I wanted to be the presenter.
Yeah.
Sometimes the presenters would have sick days. Yeah. And by sick days, I mean one of the presenters' little cousins shot him in the eye with a Nerf gun. So they needed... Yeah, I mean, he's fine. The eye's fine. But
yeah.
On that day, he couldn't go into the junket because, having an eye patch when you meet Zac Efron is not like a career highlight. Yeah. But anyway, they said, you can go and interview Zac Efron and Zendaya. So... I hadn't dressed to do any kind of interview, so I was wearing these like trousers that had like grapes on them and stuff, which is not the way I wanted to present myself to Hollywood stars. But anyway, I said I'll do it. So we were interviewing them about this this film called The Greatest Showman, and it's like a very sort of spectacle heavy, like they're performing, they're singing, they're dancing. I was like, I want to do a special talent for you, which is telling a joke. Now. I have to set up this joke well. So this joke, right, it's meant to be a trick joke that leaves you trying to guess the answer and then you dropping the answer at the end, and it's what makes people laugh. So the joke is, I'll do the joke now for you, but I'll tell you what the answer is. So I go, what's the difference between a piano, a tin of tuna, and a pot of glue? All right, so now you tell me what you think it is. So tin of tuna, a piano, and a pot of glue.
Yeah.
What's the difference? So usually people go... I don't know. They'd say something stupid like,
Yeah,
I don't know. Some of them are in a container, and then you say to them, you can tune a piano, but you can't piano tune it. So then they're sort of like, oh, that's a crap joke. And then halfway through they go, oh, what about the glue? And you go, I thought you'd get stuck on that. And then everyone's sort of like, oh, yeah, great.
Yeah.
So I told this joke in my last 10 seconds of the interview.
Yeah.
So I said to Zac Efron, what's the difference between a tin of tuna, a pot of glue, and a piano? Yeah. And he was like, oh, I don't know, man. I was like, you can tune a piano, but you can't piano tune it. And they sort of just sat there. And then I got rushed out of the room, so I never even got to say the good bit of the joke. So they just thought that was my best attempt at a joke. And I just thought, nah, this stand-up's not for me. I wanted just to run in and go, I thought you got stuck on the glue.
You know, it's so funny, yeah? Because he would have been leaving there like, what the hell is that?
What is this?
What? You know what's so mad about that? Is that there could be a time and a place where Zach's going to be like, dude, that guy. What about the glue? What the hell? He said the glue. That you would never know this until you ever meet him again.
Oh, man. So, yeah, that was...
Nah, man. You know what it is, right? I found meeting people as a comic comes with a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I met Giggs, right? Giggs has got this want to them party, innit? On a boat. So it's like, yeah, you know, Spotify are doing it. Giggs is performing. Only 100 fans can go on this boat, but you know, like you're Mo, innit? You have to go. So this is early on. I was like, whoa, I've never been to nothing like this. You know, so Giggs is there. So this is around the time I was on tour, right? So I was on tour. We're in the car. We're playing his mixtape album. It's called Want to Them, yeah. So in one of the tracks, Lingo, the Neo, so Lingo, and then Giggs is on the track. Couple of Karens. Couple of Sharons, yeah? All my friends in the car gassing me up. You know that couple of? You inspired
That's you.
I said, really? Nah, man, nah. All my friends, I'm telling you, that is because of you. I bet you 100%. So I'm like, oh, cool, man. I'm getting an influence on the music scene, yeah? So now, I'm at the Want to Them party. I see Giggs. I was like, oh, what's up, Giggs, man? How you keeping, man? You know, Giggs is like, yeah, that man's cool. That he's saying, yeah. Nice guy, proper, really nice, humble guy. So I'm like, Giggs, you know, in that track, you know, Lingo, you say couple of Karens, and then couple of Sharons. I was like, did you get that from me? Giggs just said, it's that, nah, like, man just said that still, but like, if you want to take that, like, you can take that, innit? Bruv, I've never been knocked down.
I know.
And brought up at the same time. I remember just leaving, just like, I think I'm just gonna go toilet because I don't know where to go. I'm on a boat.
It's the fact he was like,
do you go,
it's
bro?
the fact he was like, you can have it if you want. Put it in your LinkedIn if you like.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not telling no one this because this is mad awkward. It's just like, I thought you'd just be like, yeah, I did. But it says that, nah, like, man, just a couple of minutes. Like, you didn't invent the word. When I mean, I was so embarrassed. And like, I just like, yeah, I'm just going to go toilet and just walk around the boat and just, yeah, man.
Bro, I've been there. I've been there with Giggs, to be fair. Not in the same way, but I remember doing a parody of one of his songs. And he he reposted it, which was like, wow, this is amazing. But did the thing on Insta where you tap on the picture and then you tag the person. Now, obviously, watching the video, you're not going to tap the video. You see what's in the name and you click it. And I remember saying to my friend, I was like, oh, he's posted a video, but I don't think people will know it's me because I didn't have a profile then. And they're like, yeah, you know, just ask him, just say, you know, hello, Mr. Giggles, you know, could I get a tag? Could I please get a tag? And I remember messaging him and being like, oh man, so cool to see the video. Do you mind just putting me in the caption? He was like, I tagged you already, innit? I was like, okay, all right, cool. It's fine. Thanks, Mr. Giggles. See you later. I'll see myself out.
Oh, nah, God. Man.
My hand was shaking when I was messaging.
You're mad brave to say, I beg you put me in the caption.
Yeah, I know. Oh, why did I do that? I do that?
I ain't gonna lie, there's a couple of times that some people reposted videos. I'm like, well, you can't add me now. And I'm sitting there like, I would really like to say, can you add me? But I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just
Bit
going to
of
be
a
even
risky
more
one.
awkward. And it's like, you know what? I'm just going to take it down, innit? So
Yeah, that's what I was afraid. I was like, no, keep it up. It's great. It's really great. Loving the exposure.
Also, I wanted to ask you, your turnaround for content is like, as I said, like before, you've set the benchmark. Does that put you under pressure from people that, you know, because like when, for example, like when, you know, Chip put out his video, I see loads of people like, oh, Munya, you need to respond because your content's so quick. Does that now put you under pressure to feel like the people are deciding when they want the content as opposed to when you want to give them the content?
I know exactly what you mean, and I think it definitely crossed my mind. But what I think people really want from me is quality. You know, I think people would be really disappointed if I responded quickly badly. So it's up to me to set the precedent and say, look, I don't want to necessarily be the guy who responds first to everything. I just want to respond in a very Munya style. You know what I mean? So if it's something to do with, it could be something to do with like Corona or lockdown or political thing or something like that, I will respond most likely if it's something everyone's talking about. But for me to work quickly, I might have to sacrifice quality. In that particular instance with the Chip thing, I mean, look, this situation now. So this was at the time of recording less than 7 days ago. So it's I'm still traumatized. But I remember having made a sketch that day already to parody Rishi Sunak or people misinterpreting him saying, look, if you're a rapper, retrain. Yeah. So I'd done a video already where I was like, okay, we've created a new government scheme called WOI, which is work other industries, you know, Digga-D's now a digger, so I was like, cool, done for the day. That proper used up all my brain power. Order a pizza, sit down, playing a bit of UFC 2. And then I see that there's some Stormzy Chip beef kicking off. And I'm like, oh, fine. So then my phone started to buzz and I thought, okay, I'm sure this is people asking, you know, I'm sure it's just messages. And I went onto Twitter when my pizza arrived and clicked on the link to the beef and my name was at the top. So I'm thinking, what on earth have I done to be mingling with Stormzy and Chip? And it's saying things like, oh, you know, Chip sent for Stormzy, but the only person who has 24 hours to respond is Munya. I'm thinking, since when? Like, when have I become a certified grime MC? So now I'm under pressure. I'm eating my pizza. And the reason I keep mentioning this pizza is because it gave me
delicious still.
Well, it wasn't because it gave me food poisoning.
I swear.
So okay. I'm eating this pizza, gradually being food poisoned, reading these tweets. Yeah. And then thinking, okay, I message my manager. I'm like, you know, people are really hounding me for this. What do you think? And then she's saying, you know, maybe just wade out of it if you want to leave them to it. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. The pressure's still coming. And I open my laptop and just maybe scribble a couple of bars. And I then think, no, you know, I'm too tired. It's 11:30. I'm really tired. My brain's already exhausted. And then I saw there was one message in my Twitter inbox. So I opened it up now. It was John Boyega. Yeah. And he said, get to a Shell station now. Yeah. So now I'm like, shit, it's on. You're like, I have to do it now. Do you know what I mean?
John called you, boy.
This is it. So then I stayed up all night and I can feel my belly's doing a madness. I'm thinking, it just must be butterflies to get involved in this rap beat. And yeah, I write my bars. I phoned my my editor / cameraman Carlos, who's amazing, because I couldn't film it myself and I couldn't ask Scott because he's hibernating around that time. Yeah. So I said to Carlos, I said, I'm going to need you really early tomorrow to film this diss track. And he was like, no worries, man, I'm going to bed now. I set my alarm for 8. And I was thinking, it's going to be a lot earlier than 8, mate. Don't worry about that. Yeah, so I ended up calling him at 3 a.m. We went there, we made the video, you know, put it out. And people were like, wow, I can't believe how fast it is. That was a one-off. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be times I can react really quickly. And there's going to be times when I might be busy. I might be here. Yeah. But if it's something that needs humor just to remove some of the tension or the depressingness of the issue, I'm always going to try and respond. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want speed to define me. I want it to be quality. And sometimes I'll be quick, sometimes I won't.
But I think that's what's made you the people's champion this year, because you're, you know, when you look at what's happening in the world and, you know, people like, if you're losing a lot, like loved ones with, you know, COVID and stuff, and you're in your house or you've lost your job, you are that key worker that people go on their phone to and say, oh, do you know, I've had a long day. Oh, wicked, man. Like when you put up a video, I can't. Like people, you know, will be at work, see that, and be like, when I finish. You got to remember, your video could only be like 1 minute, but for them, it's like, I'm gonna watch this one out. You know, it's like
never even thought about it like that. Actually.
Yeah, and I think like that is the role that you're playing of like, you know, your people's, you know, you're almost like in charge for their mood essentially sometimes, you know, where, you know, some people are reading that and they're like, oh, Stormzy and Chip, I like both of them, you know, who do I decide? And then before you know it, you drop that video and it changes the whole narrative. Yeah. And it just makes it a bit more fun as opposed to like, oh man, why are these guys going at it, man?
Yeah, I think that's what I for sure I want to do. And the thing about my content is, even though it's talking about very serious things, I hope that it never actually comes across as malicious, because I never design it to be. Even if I'm talking about rappers or whatever, if I'm being a politician talking about rappers, I'm always kind of trying to talk about an issue without actually harming anyone. So I always try to avoid it from being personal or malicious, because at heart, like, I've been raised to be a good person. My parents have taught me good values, and I want to make classy comedy. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a temptation that sometimes if you're making comedy, you know, your punchline is just a swear word that people are like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. I know that I'm not really like that in everyday life. So I thought to myself, you know, I got to do it with kind of an element of being classy and also being kind but cheeky. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of scary walking the line of satire, because sometimes you have to fly really close to the sun. Yeah. For example, the Black Lives Matter video I did, which was a news report. There were 2 weeks where I couldn't make anything. In fact, I did make 4 videos and none of them I put out, because I thought, if I get this wrong, this is the end. Yeah. And I'm trying to help people overcome grief. I don't want to add to it. So I remember I always send my videos to 3 people. So 2 of my best friends and then my manager. And then sometimes I'll bring in others if I'm really not sure. So they're my guard. They're my first line of defense. If there's a joke in there that's too much, or if the tone's wrong, or if it's just not funny, they let me know first. So I try to filter my content as much as possible, so that when it comes out, it's kind of like as close to the bone as it can be without just hitting it. Do you know what I mean? And that's a skill that I'm still learning to navigate. Yeah. But yeah, I love the idea that, you know, people like you and myself, there are people who come home and watch our videos and it changes their whole day. Do you know what I mean? That is just just mad to me. Like,
I think sometimes you can so easily get lost in the creativity of stuff that you don't realize that someone on the other end of it who they just want to laugh. Yeah. And you're sitting there like, yeah, but this punchline can work with that, and maybe if I said it like this, or I cut the video here because it's 1 minute 20 seconds. How can I shave off 10 seconds? Yeah. Oh, it's not really funny. Okay, but where the person watching is like, that 20 seconds did not make a difference. I just found it really, really funny.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What? So obviously I'm in a very different part of my journey to you. And some of the pressure that I get is the pressure, like, you know, to react quickly, or the pressure to, you know, now that I have people supporting me, it's like the pressure to not let them down. What about you? Because, you know, you've got TV shows, documentaries, all these things. What do you feel pressure? And also, well, first of all, what are your pressures? And also, do you feel them?
You know, for me, early on when I was doing the videos, I did feel that same pressure. So, for example, I would have people saying, "Oh, Mo, it's going to be 30 degrees this Sunday. We need a couple of cans video." And I'll be sitting there and I'm looking for instrumentals. You got to imagine, like, I'm shaping this not around me, around the character. What would the geezer want to rap to? Okay, this track, no, it's too new school dancehall. I need an older track. So I'm looking through tracks of tracks. And I'm looking. I remember once I messaged Novelist, MC. He had this track that he done in his SBTV like thing that he was doing in the boxing ring. And I messaged him, I was like, dude, can I have that track? I can't find the instrument. So he gave it to me. So I was like, cool. Then I was like, nah, that don't really work, because I'm trying to get the flow. Flow weren't working. But I know I'm like, the clock is counting down, because I'm like, I've got 2 days, because it's going to be 30 degrees on this Thursday. And it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? It's Tuesday. So I'd sit there, I'd try it this way, I'll try it. The funniest thing is, that's when I used to live at my mum's house. So my bedroom had a little balcony. So I'd set up the camera, put the curtain behind me, then I'd record. But where my mum lives, there's a park. So people walk past the parkway. So there's like, it's so weird. There's trees.
Yeah.
Then there's this little gap, right, near the trees. So if you walk past that gap and look up, you will see me and then carry on going through the trees and you won't see me, but you will hear me. So you can imagine I'm sitting there, 30 degrees, and it's hot. I've got sun on my face.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get the lighting right because the sun could be going down. I don't want my neighbors to hear what I'm doing either.
Yeah.
And then I've got a speaker there. So I'm sitting there like, all right, cool. All right, ready? Cool. Play. Then I'm running to the window, put the thing, then I've got to get into character.
Yeah.
What's happening? And I'm not talking to anyone. What's happening? You're right, Julie?
And there's
That's
someone
my
down
fault.
in the park.
So you walking past, I look like an absolute crackhead. I look like the most crackhead you've ever seen.
Yeah.
What's happening, Julie? Oh yeah? You what? What are you talking about, love? Anyway, I'm a geezer. Get the cans in the freezer. You wouldn't be walking past like, what is going on over there, bro? So it left me with this huge pressure to then deliver, because then when I'm putting it out, I remember I used to have a video, put it out. I couldn't look at my phone for 10 minutes. I was like, I don't want to look at it, because I was like, this might be the one that people don't feel. And I put so much into it, and you guys have demanded it because it's hot. I'm like, I don't know, man. And I put the video out and I'm like, oh, they like it, phew.
I know.
I can breathe. So definitely I had that pressure early on when I was creating videos, because for me, it was, sometimes when, for me, it was like the character and the catchphrase, the geezer, was becoming bigger than me.
Yeah.
So it was like, cut the cans, we like blood clot. I have no money. I'm broke. I'm still catching the bus. Like, I'm still walking around. So I'll go to my corner shop, but people would say, "Oh, you're the couple of cans guy, innit?" Yeah, sick, bro. What I'm saying, my brother, you need to say something for.
Oh my god, bro! At least they asked you. Could you get the ones where they just start? They've already started.
Oh
filming.
yeah. So they're like, yeah, you need to get in my thing. Yeah, cool. Yeah, say it, bro. Say it, bro. So obviously, me, I'm just like, I felt like I owed this duty to people. Yeah. So already, I'm just activated. What's happening, guys? You right? What's your name, mate? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, sick, man. Yeah. See, if you can do it again, yeah? But like, say my name in it this time. Okay, cool. What's happening, mate? What's your name, mate? Damien. What's happening, Damien? Count the cans. So I felt like I was performing for everyone else and I was losing myself. So as much as the geezer was great and people was like, oh, I love this video when you've done that one, me, Mo, Gilligan, was going further and further and further away, where I was like, I don't feel like I've got an identity. I feel like I walk on the bus, everyone knows who I am, but no one wants to say, hey man, how are you, man? Like, everyone would rather say, can I get a video? Can I get a snap? Can I get a picture? Where to the point where I'd be in West End and I walk around and I'd have to go through the back street because people would recognize me. But I was like, and it's not, well, I don't say this in a negative way, but I'm just going to a meeting, so my head is focused of like, cool, I say this, say that, make sure I'm on time. But then someone stops in the car, hey brother, what are you saying? A couple of cans, yeah? Say something on my thing. And I felt like I had to do it because I owed it to people. I owed it to people. I owed it to the people that would say, oh, like, you got to do a video on this day. So I was coming further away from myself. And it came to a point where, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, what I'm going to do is do like an online series of the geezer. That's what they want. They're asking me, they want this, do an online series. And I created this, I had this format, he's going to do this. And it's, I had everything set up, like I'd written it all out. Then I was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I need to be myself, because once this, if it ever does, if it finishes, it will just be like, yeah, do you remember that geezer thing that Mo used to do? That was bare funny. But no one's going to be like, oh, how is that guy, man? He was sick, man. Like, what's he doing now? They just put up the old videos. So that's why I had to start coming back to myself and making me stand out more than the characters.
Oh,
so,
1,000,000%.
Yeah, I think for me, there was a huge pressure first starting out. I think I was quite lucky in the fact that Michael Dapper was putting out his videos as well. So what was helping me was helping him and vice versa. So he put out a video, then I'm like, oh, cool, I'll put out one like the next day because that's going to help me. And that's what it was doing. People was like, oh man, Michael, man, these guys are doing their thing. So that was like most probably one of the times where like I felt like I had a bit of sanity because I had someone to share it with. Yeah. I could go to an event and there's someone I'm like, this is crazy, isn't it? Yeah, man, it is. And that was, I'd say, like the time where there was that pressure. I think what comes with it now, because the spotlight's on me of like, cool, you've done Netflix, you've won a BAFTA. Like, what's next for you? But I don't feel that there's that pressure to like deliver. I think there's always a pressure in myself of like, cool, I want to create this and create that, because I'm now in a place of I need to start building the foundations of what it is that I want to do going forward to sustain a career, because it's great getting there, you know, but how do you stay there?
Yeah,
you know,
I certainly agree with you when you say about you know, having to be bigger than your characters, because I was actually very fortunate that you and Michael were, and Coyote as well.
Yeah.
All of you were showing what happens once you start to succeed with character comedy. I didn't even know if I'd ever really intended to do characters, but it just ended up that way.
Yeah.
And when I start to do Unknown P, which is like the posh drill rapper character, for me, I was using it to express this very irritating type of upper class person that I was forced to grow up around when I grew up in Norwich in a village called Framingham Piggot. And they made me feel crazy. Honestly, Mo, I lived a life you would never imagine in this village, because we had to move to this village because my mum got a job for the guy who owned the village. So as part of that, we had to move into this place where, you know, you were more likely to get run down by a badger than another human. Like, I was literally the only brown guy in the village. So I got a job waitering at this catering company, which, to give you like a bit of a scope of their clientele, minimal has to be millionaires. When the Queen came to Norwich, they would serve the Queen. So it's like a very fine establishment, and obviously the customers are the cream of the crop. You know, they're proper. You know, I was serving potatoes to this guy one day in this tent. It was so hot. I had this bowl of potatoes like bulging off my arm, and I remember serving this guy potatoes, and he sort of looked up at me and he was like, "I bet you're used to this heat, aren't you?" I was like, "You what? You think Zimbabweans just walk around with bowls of potatoes, being like, I am ready?" And then another time, I remember this guy was like, again, I was serving him something, and he was like, "Oh, you know, you speak very good English." And I thought, these guys make me feel like I'm the weirdest human being in the world. So when I moved to London, and I saw that not many people were like that in Framingham Piggot, I thought to myself, I gotta like reflect what I've been through this character. And the thing about Unknown P that I love so much is that if you hate the character, you're almost kind of, that's exactly why I've designed him. Because that was a type of person I was coming across, and I thought, you're so patronizing, so ridiculous, so cringe. So when people dislike the character, I'm sort of like, well, you were kind of meant to. And then if they like the character, I'm like, oh, well, that's a bonus. So, but I could see that I didn't expect him to resonate so much as a character. And I could see that people wanted me to just put out Unknown P all the time. Where's Unknown P? Where's the next tune? But I knew the day that I put out a week of Unknown P straight, I'll go, it's done out here now, I'm bored of it. That's why months at a time would disappear, weeks at a time, and then just at the right moment bring the character back, because I want to keep the character alive, and I want to take it on a lifespan where it's like, you've seen him go from the sketches to the fire in the booth to whatever happens next. And then one day I will retire the character, but I just want you to be able to go back and see a life story.
Of course.
So in relation to what you were saying, I think I've certainly benefited from seeing how you guys have dealt with, you know, how have you navigated the landscape of character comedy, and you know, your journey has been sort of TV shows, Netflix, BAFTA. Those are all things that I go, okay, cool, that's something I can aspire to now, because I've seen it done before. So yeah, it's interesting to know your pressures, but I also think it's very important for everyone, you and myself, everyone watching, that you've got to put a stop point on how much it takes to make you happy. And what I mean by that is, I shouldn't now turn around and go, okay, cool, I got to get Netflix first, then I got to get a BAFTA, then I can be happy. Because if I said to you right now, are you the happiest you're ever going to be? You might say to me, well, to be fair, I've got the BAFTA, but I'd really like to do X, Y, and Z. Whereas I'm thinking, what's going to make me happiest is your BAFTA, if that makes sense. So it's almost like you have to define, what's the point when I'm going to turn around and go, actually, I'm really proud of myself. Otherwise, you're never going to be there. Do you know what I mean? You'll never experience that happiness.
I think especially for me early on when I started touring, like that was when I first started touring, because it was like, wow, I'm doing it. This is what I wanted to do. Is tour and be a comic, and people come out to a show. Because when you're on a show with a lineup, sometimes they're just there for the headliner and you're making up numbers sometimes. But when it was like, wow, people are coming out for me. And then at the end of the show, they want to take a picture with me and tell me like, oh man, that was great. I really enjoyed it. And we're doing this all around the country. But I think at that time, I'd be like, yeah, it's good. But how comes I don't get booked for that show? I think I should get booked for this. And I always was in a place of just like, yeah, like, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm literally living my dream, but I'm at the dream and I'm not very happy at the moment.
That's it.
Because I'm chasing this thing. And once I get there, you chase the other thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's that early stage of when I've done the videos was when I was most probably the unhappiest. So looking back at a lot of that stuff now, it's like a different person. Apart from the characters, because I separate myself from the character. Yeah. But whenever I see like old pictures or videos, I look at it and I'm just like, oh, I remember how I really felt. Yeah. So I've seen some old footage of me doing comedy around that time. And I was looking at it and I was just like, that's not me. Yeah. Because you can see it sometimes in your eyes. You know what you're actually going through at that time. Whether it's a picture, because I remember how I felt around that time. So looking back at a lot of that stuff then was very hard to, it's even now, look back at it and I'm just like, yeah, it is. That's why I don't put up a lot of my old videos. Yeah. So I don't say, oh, do you remember when I done this video? There's certain videos I have, they'll always have they'll always have something there for the video where I was like, this is a video I've done. And I remember what it took to get there and it made me happy. Yeah. But was I happy at the time? No. And I think now I'm at a place where, sometimes people say to me, so what's next for you, man? Like, what's next? And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. I'm just feeling the emotions. So I'm in a place now where I'm most probably my most happiest, where I can really let the shackles off, be myself. The funny thing is, whenever I'm on in stories, 90% of the time I'm laughing at something. Yeah. And people are like, why are you always laughing at yourself, man? I'm like, because I finally feel happy. Like I wake up and get to do what I like and I'm enjoying what I like. You know, I used to be quite self-conscious of, shall I share that news article? Because it kind of looks like I'm showing off. And it's like, I need to celebrate that small win of being in a newspaper as well as that big win of winning a BAFTA. Yeah. Because you can't sell it, because otherwise you'll chase the big, how bigger can you go? Because then you're like, cool, I've won the Oscar. What's next? Oh, cool. Nobel Peace Prize.
This is it.
That you can only get to a certain level, and until I remember when like the YouTube channel hit 100,000 subscribers, and I was like, oh, dope, man, cool. And it's only dawned on me most probably like a couple months after what that actually meant, and I was like, wow, like this is a big deal. Yeah, I need to celebrate this. I need to say thank you to people. Like, not that I wasn't appreciative, but it's also sometimes when you're so busy, you don't get to enjoy it in the moment because you're on to the next one. And I think that's what I've kind of learned, especially in this lockdown period, of really enjoying it in the moment. It's great looking forward to the future. Going to do this, going to do that, going to do this. And I'm like, yeah, but I need to enjoy this right now in the moment, And I think that's what's kind of been the kind of key to my success. Yeah. In the last 18 to 12 months, that everything project I've done in the moment, I was enjoying it. Yeah. And when it wasn't going right, I was like, do you know what? Like, tomorrow's another day, man. Cool.
I think what you were saying about just sharing your real life is really important. What I've discovered, and I never really knew I'd kind of do this, is I just started to use my stories as a way of talking about sort of weird things that would come into my head, because I was just interested in engaging with my audience and just seeing if they thought the same. And the other day we were talking about things that your parents told you, things that your parents lied to you about so that you wouldn't do other certain things. Stuff like, if you eat the seeds of an orange tree's going to grow in your stomach. If you leave the light on in your car, the one, when you're a kid, you switch it on, the police will come and arrest you.
Yes,
And I posted that, and some people think that that's actually still real.
I still slightly do sometimes.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't even know that was...
Listen, when you're black, it's just an excuse, boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, come on, got the light on. It's illegal. Is it really?
Your forehead is reflecting that light rather aggressively, sir. Step out of the vehicle.
Because I didn't ever understand the whole logic, because it was like, with the lights on, that could danger other drivers.
But this is
I'm
the
like,
thing.
why are they looking at my light in my car?
That's the thing. As a kid, that was like the best thing to do. When you was as soon as that light went on, it was a party in the car.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah. To be in a cold, dark car.
Oh man,
Come on, man.
Now that I think about it, like Zimbabwe was a bit different though, because we would take it a step further.
Yeah.
So, my dad used to have this. I guess it was like a truck. So the front half was a car. The back half was like just an extended boot.
Yeah.
And me and my sister used to be obsessed with sort of telling my dad to drive into this road with no other traffic and just asking him to swerve. So he would just smash against the walls of this metal car. Yeah, sorry, that was like our entertainment there. So I feel like a lot of things don't apply, but where I can, I try to sort of like show the audience or the people who watch my videos and stuff that nothing's changed about my life, really, in the sense of I still make my videos in the same living room. And I still, haven't forgotten where I came from. I still I'm still very much interested in talking to people and, relating to people who support my work, because I was afraid that when you do start to do well and people see, baby, you do a couple of brand deals, that you're sort of not accessible to them anymore.
100%. Man.
I actually do remember a conversation that we had where you were telling me that, some people say to you, oh, I used to watch your stuff.
Yeah. Because
it's almost like they've seen you on TV now, and it's almost as if they go, oh, well, that part of the journey is not for me.
Yeah.
Whereas in actual fact, I'm thinking, no, I want my audience who have watched me from day one to all come with me on that journey. 100%. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me in this space now, it's so weird because me announcing that I'm doing this show is someone who feels like, oh no, I'm now further away. So it's always very mindful of like, yeah, I might do this big show, but that hasn't changed the person that I am. I'll just have different opportunities. I'm just exploring my career to the point of like, do you know what, I might just try this. I might just try that. Because ultimately I know the people that support my stuff, they're like, I want to see you go as far as possible. And I'm going to stay on this train until it gets to the last stop. Where there's some people that jump on the train and say, do you know what? I'm only going one stop. Cool, man. It's not for me. And that's okay. That's all right. You came at some part of my journey. And there's also an evolution where that person might get off earlier and actually in the next couple of years, they might join back and say, oh, do you know what? I grew up watching this guy, man. Wow. Like, and I had that. I listened to sometimes music and I was like, yeah, it's not for me. But now that's the music that I want to listen to. That's the stuff that reminds me of my teenage years and stuff. So yeah, but I definitely think there is that thing where I think with social media, it can sometimes create this reality of like, oh, you're here and I'm just a person watching and stuff. And am I a view? Am I just a like? Am I just a retweet? Yeah. And stuff. Where it's like, well, no, you definitely add value. You saying to me, I really enjoy it, or leaving a comment, that is what encourages me to make the content I do. Yeah. So I'm always mindful of like, because I haven't, replied back to your DM or, like clicked like on your tweet. That doesn't mean I can't see it. I see it. And that's what encourages me. If you leave that comment, I'm like, cool, man. You like it? Going. Cool. Because if I see you back again, I'm like, oh, big up this person, man. Yeah. This person, big up this person. Sometimes it's like replying to messages can lead to a whole different rabbit hole. Because can I ask you something? Yeah, go on. Do you get like, you see rappers, yeah? Yeah. Because your wit is like it's some like mad funny wit. And sometimes musicians are very serious. Yeah. Like I've done jokes with certain musicians and like I think it's funny. And they're like, you're big man. Stop doing that. Have you had that? Yeah. There was this one time, I suppose. So I'd say 99% of any rapper that's ever been in my video or whatever, all of them have like an unexpectedly good sense of humor. Yeah. In the comments laughing or asking to repost and stuff. And that actually makes me respect an artist more when they realize when an artist can take a joke, it's a big deal. Oh, it makes a world of difference. So I'd say everyone from people like Digger D, Dutch, Heady One, even like Gigs as we mentioned earlier, all of them have had a great sense of humor. So I've got a lot of respect for them. I remember being at the Brits this year in February. Because you were presenting there as well on the red carpet. Yeah. Congratulations for that. Thank you, mate. That was dope, man. That was on a side note, that was so great because I'd won a competition a few years ago. Yeah. To
present at the Brits where everyone had to vote for me to get there. This was when I was at uni. And I remember, because it was quite a small production company, we were right at the end of the carpet.
Yeah.
No one gets there like you interview a tumbleweed.
Do you remember when I seen you at the NME Awards?
Yeah, I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I do remember
I
that.
was bare gassed to see you because someone I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, on, brother, you all right? Yeah, I'm happy to be here because no one wanted to talk to me.
Bro, I remember
no
that.
press.
That's the same as what I was like at that thing. So for it to come full circle a few years later and to be actually doing it for the Brits was amazing, because we got put right at the top of the carpet. We got to speak to everyone, and this is where this encounter happened. So around that time, it would have been February. In December, November, we dropped, myself and Sideman had dropped a parody about D-Block. So D-Block European Union. Because you just couldn't, you couldn't escape Brexit. Yeah. So I thought, look, we've got to try and address what's happening through music. So I thought D-Block Europe's the closest thing we can come to the EU. Do you know what I mean?
That was sick, by the way.
So,
that video was so sick.
Yeah, that was unexpected.
He had the hair and that.
I know, and everyone fancied me with the dreads, and I was like, I just can't make it happen with this hairline. It's not going to happen. Stop dreaming. But anyway, I remember we did 2 parodies. Yeah. And on the night of the Brits, I saw Young Ads and LB, who are staggeringly tall. So I saw them in the flash shoots, and I thought, they were speaking to like a camera crew before us, and I thought, well, hopefully they come over, we can have a little chat. Anyway, got distracted, interviewed someone else. Next thing I know, they were all the way down the carpet. But then I feel this sort of nudge on my arm, and it's the third member, Little Pino, I think his name is. I know I make it sound like a wine, but I think that's how you say his name. Yeah. And he said to me, I think he said something along the lines of, we don't really like what you're doing with our flow. Now, because I'm there with the Brits and the sort of camera crew are sort of looking, I'm thinking, I can't afford there to be drama. So I went, what's that, mate? And he said, we don't like what you're doing with our flow. And I looked at him again, I just pretended not to hear, and I was like, what's that again? And he sort of looked at me and then just went and just dropped it and went, anyway, you having a good night? I was like, yeah, I'm having a great night. It's fantastic. And I was like, hopefully you win. And he sort of disappeared. And I was like, thank God, because I'm about to have my first beef on the red carpet at the Brits. So I don't know whether there's love or dislike there, because a video shortly after, Young Ads commented on with laughing faces, but maybe he didn't know it was me. So I say apart from Little Pino, everything's been pretty plain sailing. Apart from the Pinot shaped bump.
Man, it's so funny because when you're in that position, it's like, I remember I used to do this character with, like, but I remember doing stand up, and I'd get these really bad looking teeth, sunglasses, and I'd be like, I used to use Get's impression of Get's, right? And I remember, like, I'm doing this impression. Everyone's like, bruv, that impression is sick, bruv. That impression is sick. This is at a time where grime is still underground. It's not kind of like 2016 when it starts emerging. It's how drill is now, basically. So, I'm doing this, and I'm doing it at a comedy show, and everyone's like, oh man, people are atting him. Have you seen Mo's sketch? Like, have you seen what he does on stage? And everyone's like, that is so funny. And I'm getting real MCs tell me this, bruv, that impression you do of Gets, spot on. So I was like, I'm going through the motions, isn't it? And then I remember there was a show. It was like this show called Sunday Show, but it was like this kind of award show, basically. So I think I was doing stand up. So coming on after was Gets, right? So the stage is here. In order to get into the stage, you've got to go through this door here, and there's a ramp that leads up this stage, right? So I was like, cool. Someone said to me, Mo, you're going to be on in a bit. I've got back. Before I get to this stage, Gets is there with Kano and like 10 guys, yeah?
Okay.
I couldn't not walk past them. They're there. So I was just like walking past, and I managed to walk past him, just about to go on stage. All I heard was, yo, Mo, come here, bruv. And I was like, who's that? Sounds like Gets. So I was just smiling. Yo, what's going on, Gets? He said. He's like, yo, come here, man. Everyone's all smiling. But like, the rest of the guys are just like, just chilling, like. And the part of me is like, oh, whoa, Kano's there. Like, I'm like, oh, what are the chances? Like, get down there. He puts his arm around me. He's like, aye, that's Get your doing, man. It's bare funny, man. I'm like, cheers, man. Thanks, man. I'm a big fan, man. Yeah, hear what, but you got to stop doing that, though, So I'm like, I'm laughing. Of course, man. Nah. Seriously though, stop doing that though, bro. All right, man. Cool.
The grip's getting tighter.
And then he left. He's like, have a good set though. Smash it still. Cool. I was just on stage, just like trying to tell jokes, but in my head, I'm just like, I might get rushed if I go back down. You know, I might just have to just stage dive as a comic. Knock knock. Who's there?
Did you do the Gets impression that?
No. From that day on, it finished. It stopped. But the beautiful thing is when I started doing the videos, like he was one of the people that, you know, like now whenever I see him at stuff, he's just, you know, I think the good thing is now the scene has come a lot full circle where we do have people doing parodies of musicians, and the musicians are like, rah, find it funny because then now you're relevant. You know, not to say that you're not relevant before, but it's just how when I look at American comics and they might kind of take the piss out of some of the rappers and stuff, that is how good your craft is. If someone is doing some kind of impression of you in something, that is how big your star is now. That someone has kind of got the creativity to say, I want to do an impression of you because you're that different that I want to do an impression of you. And it's always got to be at a level of where you're laughing. You want them to be laughing with them. That's right. For example. So when I was doing the Gets thing, people are laughing at me, but they're also laughing with Gets. If Gets is watching, I want you to laugh with him if you're in the room, not be like, oh my God, that is so funny. Like, look, he's doing you. I want you to all be in the room and all laugh together.
You've got to be in on the joke. That's what I've learned. And in a lot of meetings that I've had where it's been about TV shows and it's been about, oh, who could your characters meet? You know, what could they do? I was taught that, you know, you mustn't just attack somebody through humour who doesn't deserve it.
Definitely.
So a Tommy Robinson or a Nigel Farage or a Priti Patel, in many cases, their actions affect and impact so many negatively that to go, okay, I'm going to do something that sort of teases you a little bit. There's enough justifiable license for you to go, cool, you're going to be at the butt of the joke because you've done some pretty nasty things as well. Whereas to go up to a randomer in character to be like, oh, look how silly you are and stuff, it actually reflects badly on you for sure.
Massively.
And that's why another encounter that that I will always remember is when I actually met Unknown T for the first time.
Okay.
This was at a Wingstop event, and I remember being there I think it was with my manager, and we were there, and I remember walking up the stairs with my little box of like unseasoned wings, and I could see this huge group behind us, and a huge group behind us, hoods up and stuff, and I thought, oh, it must be a celeb because they've got lots of people around them. Yeah. So anyway, we were eating now, and I got this nudge, and I looked, and this guy was like, "Oh, I'm Unknown T's manager." And I was like, "Oh, wicked, good to meet you." Thinking, I didn't know Unknown T was there. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, and Unknown T's over there." So I now looked, and I saw him, and he sort of like nodded, nothing to suggest he was either like with me or against me. Yeah. And you got to edit out that voice break because that was embarrassing. That's the fear that I had on the day. Anyway. So I walked over to the table and sat down, and it was him, the Unknown T. So it was a manager, Unknown T, and this guy who had like a scar literally going 360 of the way around his head. So I thought, right, you know, I'm sure I could walk out with one of them scars if I'm not careful. Anyway, I sat down, and I said to Unknown T, I was like, you know, so what do you think? And he was like, I like it. You know, he's like, when me and my boys first saw it, we were thinking, what's this? But it's how I remember him saying, you know, it's drawn attention to what I'm doing. So I'm cool with it. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, I'm happy now because you can see that the character is not even made as an attack on you. It's literally, it's meant to encapsulate what happens when a certain group of posh people in society go, oh, you know, literally hate when black people do this, literally. And then they see it popping and they're like, oh my God, like I've always loved drill. Like drill is literally popping. I love it. I was trying to be that guy, that culture vulture who is personified in this character who goes, yeah, drill, band drill, band drill, band drill. What, Unknown T, Homerton B's popping? Oh yeah, love drill, love drill. That's what I made the character for. So the fact he could see that, I was like, that felt like an accomplishment.
Feels like a win, especially for your creativity, because it lets you know that, oh, raw, what if you like it, then hopefully there's more people that like it. So for your creativity, it does so much for your confidence because then you're like, oh wow, like cool, man. Like when I started doing the geezer stuff, couple of cans, that, you know, the people who liked it the most were the lads. You know what I mean? Like especially when I was with a lot of my friends. We go to Wireless and say, "Oh, what's happening, mate? That couple of cans, I'll show it to my dad. He's a taxi driver. Absolutely love literally, if I'm in central London, taxi drivers will stop in the middle of West End. Mo, what's happening, mate? Couple of cans."
Yeah.
But because I know, especially amongst that community of black taxi drivers, that is that kind of character. So I know, especially when I was doing it, it wasn't to mock those people as geezers. And the beautiful thing is when I create my characters, it's whatever you want it to be. So sometimes I read stuff and it's like, yeah, it's really cool because Mo's this like black guy who's pretending to be white. And I'm like, no, it's not it.
No.
But that's your interpretation of it. And that's what I love about it. A geezer is a geezer. Like, you can be black and be a geezer. You can be white and be a geezer. You can be Asian. You can be whatever you want. But so there's a person that sees that character and they can say, oh, actually, no, Mo is actually a black guy who he thinks he's white, but he's actually black. He doesn't know his culture. And I'm like, nope, that's how you've seen it. So I let every audience member see it how they want. But then other characters like Cavani, that is just your little brother.
Yeah.
That is someone's little brother, your little cousin. You might not have grown up with a little brother, but he has the traits that you might see in yourself or see in someone else. So I think that's what's really nice, like talking to you, how you develop your characters and your creativity, you know, because it's really refreshing when I like, this is for me, like this is like my nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
Of like when I can talk about creative aspects of how people do it, I get mad nerdy in it. And sometimes people listen to this pod, they're like, I thought you man would just be bossing characters all day, but this is deep, bro.
It's quite exhausting it's actually, it can be quite exhausting to be in character because you really gotta embody them a lot. You know, for me, when I do when I do my newsreader, my face really aches afterwards because I'm always fixing my face and
Barty crease.
Barty crease, yeah. That was actually, if you want to nerd out about this one, I remember making that character in just as to fill a gap one day on my feed because I was thinking, not a lot's going on apart from Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Let me do a news report about if a black player won Wimbledon, and I'll use this news reporter. So I put on my white shirt and stuff, and I made the sketch, and I thought, okay, what's the funny thing I can say at the end? Because I'm obviously poking fun at the news. Is there one last dig I can have? And I was like, okay, I'll call this news reporter Barty Crease for two reasons. Number one, it just sounds funny. But number two, I thought to myself, if this character, for any reason, ever gets famous and is interviewed on TV, I will be able to force the newsreaders to say Barty Crease. And lo and behold, on Sky News, 8 a.m. one morning, the news reporter was like, okay, so we're interviewing the online comedian Munya Chawawa, whose Barty Crease has gone viral recently. I was like, yes, it has. And then it gives me room to come back and be like, she was like, so tell me about the character. Well, yes, if we dive into my Barty Crease. If we really bust open the Barty Crease character and just begin to explore that Barty Crease, you find actually there's a...
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, so I always give your characters a name like that.
You know what's so funny, yeah? Because when I first seen the news report character you done, right? When I watched it, I was like, oh, this is really funny. And I was like, Barty Crease? That's a different name for a character. And then I was like, why do you call it Barty? Bang Crease! It's Bang Crease! The way it fully dawned on me, I was like, oh, that's so sick. Man called him like as if his name's Barty Crease. Bro, when I clocked that, I said, nah, man. I felt like I had literally found the Matrix. Like I was like, I'm in the Matrix. I found it. It's meant to be called Barty Crease, but it's Barty Crease. Fam, genius. That for me is like, even down Sky.
Oh man!
Oh, Munya, man! I've been looking forward to talking, just sitting down with you, just having a good chat. Because I always say, like, if there's any advice and stuff you want, just hit me up and stuff.
Yeah,
and
man,
whatnot.
you've given me some good advice for sure.
Honestly, man, like, I think your creativity is like, it's so wicked to see, man. And I'm always a person. When I'm around, there's some people I haven't met, but I'm always very much like, dude, like I love what you do with that. Or I like to tell people they're good in the moment. Like, it's like even like I was with Michael not so long ago, Michael Dapper.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing the doc, and I was like, dude, like, and I don't get to normally say this because you're just in a position of like, oh, cool, like, what we saying, man, like you, we said, I see you, bro, what, new crept. But I was saying to him, I was like, dude, like, even with the doc, I was like, what you done is crazy. 375 million views. Like,
it's nuts.
That is mad. You toured the world. You was in Korea and stuff, and it's so encouraging to see because now I think when I was doing these videos, we would always look at, oh, what are these Americans doing with the vines? Wow, 15 seconds. Their quality is sick. Oh, man. And I think sometimes it's very easy to look at that and be like, we need to do stuff like that. But now it's like, and it's not to say now, like there's massive loads of people that have come before, but there's people now who, you know, young people growing up who are saying, do you know what? I don't just have to be a footballer or a rapper. I can be a comic, but not a comic where it's just like, I've never been on stage. I don't know. Like, can I still be a comic? Can I still be a comedian? Like, you can pick up a camera and create what you want and be in a position where it's be like, it's cool to laugh at me. I really don't mind. Like, I'm not too cool for school. Feel free to laugh at me because I want you to enjoy that. I want you to enjoy what the comedy that I'm trying to create, you know? And I think that's what's really cool of what you do. Like, you know, you can allow people to kind of laugh at you in a sense. Because I've seen some videos where you've done with artists and stuff and like, you know, you put yourself out there in a position where you're like, I'm the butt of the jokes here. I know that I'm creating this so I can be the butt of the jokes. But also at a stage where you can then create a character like Barty Crease, which is really serious but really funny. Yeah. But this is like, now laugh with me, you know, and you can laugh at the same time. That balance is not everyone can get that right. Laugh with me, but laugh at me at the same time. But also take me seriously a little bit as well. You know, like I'm creating sick content here. Like,
it's I really don't know how I learnt to do it, but I just know that my life experiences somehow lend themselves to doing that. You know, everything from, you know, I was always very good in school because my dad was like, you need to be the best in school. So by rights, I shouldn't necessarily have gone down as well as I have because, you know, people might say, oh, you know, this guy's really nerdy. What's all these long words, this and that, and the other. But, you know, people embrace me for it. And for the, you know, for the people who don't, you know, because there's definitely a guy who sits at home and waits for any video to come out and goes, is it just me or is this not funny? Straight face going, where you're at. And it's like, okay, but listen, this is the thing. If everybody got to remove a comedian they didn't feel was funny, there would be no comedians. Yeah. So it's worth letting people enjoy what they find funny. Yeah. Because the variety is the spice of life, of course. Yeah. And in addition to that, you know, we don't adopt that attitude to anything else. People who love Nando's or Vapiano's or whatever will go to those restaurants and enjoy them. They'll never walk into, you know, a Wagamama's and go, oh, this food is dead. Everyone should go to Vapiano's instead. They never do that. They spend their time ordering in the places that they like. So with comedy, with music, with any creative output, it's the same thing. It's like, if you eat, what's more beneficial for the existence of the scene is go to the people you like and tell them instead of wasting your time telling the people you don't like that you don't. Yeah, that's really, really important. And I think it's like, I find it hilarious if someone watches a whole video, which is 2 minutes. Yeah. And then you said to yourself, I don't find this funny. I'm like, you sat through 2 minutes of something you don't like to then tell me you don't find it funny. That does nothing for me. Yeah. That just lets me know that you're an idiot sitting through 2 minutes of something you don't like. Do you think if I don't like a film, I'm going to be like, do you know what? I just might as well watch it to the end. See how much more I don't like of it. Switch it off. Not to say this film is terrible. It's like, it's not for me. Exactly. This is not for me, man. There's other people that enjoy it, but it's not for me. But honestly, Munya, man, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the pod. I can't stop laughing about the Barty Crease, man. I really want to see if I can find that footage of you on Sky now. Just so I can watch it back. Like, look at this idiot. And what's even better about that is now when you go away today, everyone says, what are you smiling about? Said, I'm just thinking about Barty Crease.
Hey, you're right. Yeah, man. When you said Barty Crease, man. Yeah, funny. But no, man, honestly, like, I really think, like, you know, the future for yourself, like, and I don't really want to say the future as a patronizing thing, but like, your level of intuitive of what you want to create, where you want to go is going to get you so far in life. It's so good to see at this stage in your career. It's really refreshing to see someone who's enjoying it in the moment, how they want to create it, how they don't want to create it, what they might want to, do you know, I might try and do this. And honestly, man, like literally, like the world is your oyster. So you must just go out there.
Of course, man. And
take the oyster, brother.
I will, man.
So yeah, man.
Well, thank you for getting me on the pod.
No problems, man.
Of course, man. I got a lot of love and respect for you right from that first radio show.
Yes.
You know, to think that we can still talk now is a real blessing, and you know, definitely in an unofficial sense, because I know you're a busy guy. Like, I've received already some great advice from you over WhatsApp voice notes and stuff, and that just makes me know like you're one of the good guys. You know, because you're willing to help. Man. You know, you're trailblazing in your own lane, but you're willing to help us.
But you know what it is? It's also, sorry to interrupt you, but it's also one of them things where it's like we have to all win together.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It can't be this is the guy with the baton. Bloody hell, he's oh man, like we have to win together.
Yeah. And
I think that is what's so important. That's why I say to anyone, look, if you need an advice, just shout me advice. I don't want to like be the person who put an arm around you. By the way, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do this. It's like, look, just do what you know is best for you. But if you need help in a way of like, oh, do you know what? Like, dude, yeah, man, if you want to figure out how to write a treatment or all these things, it's like everybody needs to help each other. I was very fortunate to have some people that can say, hey, man, you want to do this, you want to do that and stuff. So it's really important that, you know, and I don't even want to be like the uncle of the scene either. Like, well, I've won the BAFTA today, so what you kids want to do now? It's like, no, that's not. I still learn from people that are older than me or younger than me. Do you know what I mean? I'm never in a place of like, yeah, you man are young, innit? Man's won a BAFTA, bro. I don't know. Even some of the things you say today, you're just dropping gems. But I'm sitting there like, oh, rah, that's deep, man. Like, so yeah, thank you for doing the Mo Gilligan podcast. Is there anything you got coming up that you want to speak about or?
Well, it depends it depends at the time of release, but hopefully a lot more to listen to, I'd like to say.
Yeah.
But I have one question for you, a very quick one.
Yes, go for it.
Where do you keep your BAFTA?
So, I haven't got the BAFTA yet.
Oh, no, still?
Yeah. Actually, no. So, the BAFTA, I have to pick it up, I think it's like next week. Picking it up next week, basically. Because of the whole COVID thing, like normally you get it at the award show. But I think because of this whole situation with COVID there, that's why it's so funny. Sometimes I go on Twitter and I'm like, still waiting for the BAFTA. Like,
yeah, but I want to know, when you have a BAFTA, what is that responsibility like of where do you put it in the house? Like, have you had to build a shelf you never even had before?
Do you know what? Before I won it, I put a note next to the table and said reserved for BAFTA 31st of the 7th to the 20th. That was before. And I said to my girlfriend, like the night, I said, rah, this time tomorrow, I'm going to win a BAFTA. I went to bed and the next day I won a BAFTA. And that, when that drops in the Hollywood biopic, that scene's going to be sick still.
That's going to be a tearjerker, man.
Oh yeah, when Morgan Freeman's going to narrate that, Mo Gilligan went to the toilet. He said,
like, you'll get some pressure again.
Yeah, but for me, I think especially like those things, I always say like they're amazing. I must celebrate them, but they're also a bonus. So I can't stop. And I think it's really important, like to tell people like yourself, like there's more than BAFTAs you can go for.
Oh yeah,
do you know what I mean? So get everything you can out there. Like, don't feel like the top is not enough. You know, people say there's a glass ceiling where it's like, well, fuck it, I'm going on the roof, innit? And I'm gonna look at you, man, and everyone's like, oh my god, that guy's on the roof. Look at him on the roof. Look at you pussy holes down there in the glass. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's a conversation of every pigeon in London.
Yeah, I can fly. So yeah, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it, guys. If you did enjoy, make sure you like, subscribe, use the hashtag Mo Gilligan Podcast. It's been amazing having Munya on, and yeah, take care. Peace.